Alrighty then, I think we're ready to go to open discussion. If anyone has any questions, comments. Hey, Tony Robertson, are you there?
Can you hear me? Or am I on mute?
Richard Bend. Oh, L is talking. I'm not hearing anything.
Can you hear me now? No.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure. I didn't know. Yeah, I have a question like about.
Can you turn on your camera?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I have a question just regarding your oscilloscope measure you're using for the olifants experiment. It has a max bandwidth limit, doesn't it, to where how far it can like go as far and like I guess near the you said there was the neutron limit or like the neutron bandwidth limit.
You're talking about a scope, like a
Oscilloscope range? Yeah.
So there's no oscilloscope in this experiment. We do have a spectrum analyzer.
Okay.
Yeah, a spectrum analyzer is different from an oscilloscope. It shows you where at what frequency there is electromagnetic energy being emanated. But a scope, on the other hand, will show you what those waves actually look like. Scopes that can go up that high are very, very expensive. We're talking $20,000, $30,000. Extremely finicky, easy to damage, hard to work with. Most oscilloscopes that you find in an average lab go up to about 200 megahertz.
Yeah.
So you might be able to see ham radio waves, like low 20 meter, 80 meter ham radio waves with a regular oscilloscope. We do have an oscilloscope over here that can do about 2 gigahertz, barely. And we were only able to afford that one is because it's so old. It actually uses compact discs, floppy disks.
Yeah.
It still runs though, but generally the equipment that you would use in this frequency range is a spectrum analyzer, show you where the energy is being emitted, what frequency is coming out, how much power is getting emitted. And that's what I have over here. This guy over here, it's an HP signal generator, spectrum analyzer. And
Yeah.
that just shows you where the peaks are. And obviously the strongest peak inside the Faraday cage right now with a horn antenna in there is going to be the 9.25 gigahertz that we were emitting. We also were listening to the static. I'm not sure if there was any changes in the static as we were running through the frequency levels there. But more experimentation is necessary. I do need a better camera system to see if anything's going on, because these cameras just died on us mid experiment, and they were
well, probably because of the flash. I mean, it fried the sensor most likely, I think.
Well, they're very well protected. They are basically completely grounded and shielded. With copper and aluminum, and the glass that it's looking through is, I think, a tin coated glass, and then that is grounded to the side of it. So
depending on the, I don't want to cut you off. There's like, I mean, depending on the glass, or I guess the wavelength and meters. I work in like nanometers of wavelength, but like if it's smaller than any of the wavelengths, going from millimeters to nanometers, like if it's smaller than what the glass is or any of like the fibers and like the protective layers that you got, if it's smaller, it's going to go through those and probably maybe still affect the sensor, might damage it possibly still, right?
Well, the frequency needs to be bigger than your smallest orifice. Take care, guys. Tom, thank you. And guys, big round of applause for Tom Butler over here, who helped set up this experiment. It was a lot of work. He says whatever.
He says, thank you, thank you.
But yeah,
Lulu's clapping.
Oh, hey, hello.
He's sending his love.
Hi, everyone.
Lulu's a hoot.
All right, I'm gonna shut off this second computer right now.
Thank you, Tom.
He already had to go home.
He was really nice when I was there to me, like, you know.
Okay, who else is here? Tony Robertson just told me that his camera and microphone has died. Rest in peace. Who else is hanging out? Thomas Anderson, how are you?
In the great beyond.
So this live stream was not going, did not make it to YouTube, other than Bernard's stream, which started halfway through. Jeremy had some sort of personal emergency. So replays are going to be available on Tim Ventura's channel or the APEC channel as soon as it's all edited out.
Absolutely, and I'll be uploading the Tim's edited ones to the full autodidactic channel and my own here next week too.
Awesome. Bernard, how many viewers do you have going on the live stream?
I think there's currently 30 on the YouTube, but I'm gonna have to shut her down pretty quick here as the girlfriend is on imminent arrival over. But I'm in talks with both Bob Grenier, and I'm going to be emailing John here. I've been talking to him for several weeks on his own YouTube, but schedule them together with Jeremy to do a couple of multi-casts on all of our channels as I get StreamYard reconnected. So that will be coming soon.
That's awesome. Make sure to send me a link to that as well. I'd like to get on with Greener and Hutchinson. That's definitely an A-team meeting.
You will most definitely.
People are asking in the chat, what is your YouTube channel? Can you post it in the chat, please?
Yes, sir. I'm just getting it right now. This is my backup channel, as YouTube still hasn't reinstated my main channel after 4 months. They still haven't even given me a response. Oh, sorry. That one first is Faraday Research, my partner channel out of Toronto's YouTube.
Is that the channel that we're going live on right now?
No, the one we are actually live on right now is Autodidactic Australia. It's got about 50,000 subscribers on it. But did they want the link for that YouTube video as well? I just posted my main channel.
Yeah, post the YouTube video link in the chat as well, so we have that.
Will do.
Okay, I guess we are in open discussion right now, so you know, don't shy away. You can unmute yourself and start the conversation. There's lots going on, lots of experiments to run, and yeah, don't everyone talk at once. Harold, are you saying something? I think you're muted.
Yes, Mark.
Yes, we can hear you.
What are the result of your analysis from last week's experiment live? Now last time.
Your connection cut out, but I think you were asking about the analysis of the experiments. Well, One thing that I have realized is that the powdered version of these experiments in epoxy, they tend to heat up pretty rapidly. And it's not real, it's probably not how it's done. Michael Heim's suggestion to use a Mylar aluminum sheet or those emergency blankets was genius. That is probably how a craft will have to be operated. And when Jeremy Reese is on, he's always talking about thin film applications, thin film science, experimenting with things on a very thin layer. That is where we're heading with this experiment. Issue with that was, of course, is that when you're dealing with a thin film of aluminum and your sample weighs 1/10 of a gram, you can't measure that on a mechanical scale anymore. So we're going to be moving on to this super, it has like, I think 4 digits after the decimal point in grams. So we're able to see down to 1/10,000th of a gram in weight change. Highly accurate scale with, we managed to hook it up to the computer. So it's giving us live data, and we'll be able to run these experiments and just watch the weight change. And hopefully I'm able to get out any RF interference with the scale, which is why we put it on top of the Faraday cage, and there's a hole in the top of the Faraday cage to feed a line through. That's similar to what Wayne Ojala's doing out in Canada. But that really is the best way to run these experiments. And I think in the future, what we're going to end up seeing with these craft is something similar to a Mylar blanket or very thin sheets of different materials versus that then perpetuate this dynamic nuclear orientation effect to the rest of the craft versus a thick, structural layer. So the structural layer will be separate, but the actual layer that is going to be starting the effect, initiating the effect, will be very small, very thin, and similar to what Linda Moulton Howe found, that sample where there was bismuth, magnesium, and on different materials, microscopically layered. That is the kind of material that will react with EPR and create dynamic nuclear orientation. So if we get one of those samples in here, and run that through the experiment, that will be amazing as well. But they need to be separated. You don't want them to just be a solid block. They need to be separated with like a dielectric, I believe.
What is the next experiment you're going to try to get closer to the isophone result you really want? The one that's going to be fantastic. What would it be next?
It's probably a variation of the experiment we did with the osmium, because we did see some movement there, and I was able to see that movement only through the fiberscope, and took note of it. The Gauss range was 25 Gauss off, but turns out that when you measure it at the sample, it was exactly where it needed to be for the gyromagnetic ratio, as Alzafon predicted. Also, George Hathaway mentioned that he didn't see weight loss, but he did see movement, and he was using a ruby crystal, which is basically aluminum, an aluminum amalgam, an aluminum mineral, and they saw movement, but it wasn't necessarily weight loss in the sample. It was sort of dancing around. So there is variations of the experiment that need to be tried. And we're going to be running through them. There's also some powdered oxides that I want to try, and also water, seawater. There's lots of other materials that we can throw in there for different variations of the experiment. We can also do it without that whole waveguide setup. If the material is not going to tend to heat up, we can use the horn antenna like we have now. Oh, Wayne, are you there? Well, I'm just going to mute you out for a second because he's probably dealing with the kids. Yeah, so we'll be able to run experiments with more space right now with the current setup, where we just have a horn antenna and open air allowing the sample to both be viewed and weighed, and it will also allow for more cooling if the sample is getting hot. On the downside, we're not going to be able to measure the heat as effectively, the temperature of the sample, because the temperature sensor is, again, stuck to the side of our waveguide. There's advantages and disadvantages to all these setups. This is, with a wave, with a horn antenna and the magnet acting as the waveguide. That's how I believe George Hathaway ran the experiment. So there's lots of variations that we can try, and hopefully we'll get some conclusive results. But right now, things are looking positive or promising for the thin film variation of the experiment. And again, thank you to Michael Himes, who I think was in the who was here earlier, for making that suggestion.
Oh, that's good. That's good that you're making progress. You're getting there. Keep on at it, Mark. You're doing good. Oh,
Thank
there's
you.
Glenn.
Hey, Glenn, your camera started working.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
This is an older camera. That's the reason my head's real big. The other one, I'm further back looking.
Oh, you look charming as ever.
But my new one just, I plug it in, it'll sit there for a while and then it goes off. So I'll get another one for 2 weeks. So.
How is Brandenburg doing? I heard he fell ill.
I don't know the full story. I just know that he went in the hospital for something. I don't think it was COVID though.
It was, I heard he got his bloodshot clot booster, and then it
Not a
did.
pacemaker, I think. So I don't know if he already had one and they fixed it or they put a new one in. I don't know. But I didn't.
Yeah, I heard about the pacemaker as well. I hope he's well. I'm actually going to be visiting him next month, the end of March. We'll be down there in Midland, Texas.
Let me know, I might come down. We're putting in another proposal, an SBIR together. And we've got a NIAC in that we won't know to the 1st of March. So if we got the NIAC, I'll probably maybe down there in March anyway for a while.
Okay, so it'll be the end of March, and I think it's the 30th till the 2nd. We'll be there. There's also an observatory that we're going to be checking out that has an 82-inch telescope that you can look through. So that's pretty exciting. It's right next to Kepler Aerospace, just like 2 hours south of that.
A lot of stuff within several hours, SpaceX and Virgin Galactic, they're all probably within 150 to 200 miles from Midland. So
They make everything bigger in Texas.
it just seems that way.
What else is going on here? We have Shmuel S., Thomas Anderson, Ed Benko, Mike Dubik.
Mark, what about the gyroscope experiment? When are you going to show it off? I mean, just let it rip, and show us, the performance. Because it looked like you're doing, I mean, the one I saw today you were showing, that looks good.
Yeah, it's pretty much complete at this point. We're still working on the software side, programming the chip for moving the servos and the motors. Pretty close to finishing. The issue is time and resources. We're all concentrating on this Alzafon thing, so that was sort of put on the back burner. But if anyone wants to come down to the lab and finish up the programming and start running some tests on it, I'll set you up and we could finish it up.
What will the programming for the gyroscope do? How much better will it make it? What would it be the expected performance by including the programming in the gyroscope machinery?
Well, without the programming, the thing won't turn on, won't move. We're programming the servos to move as as necessary. That needs to be done through experimentation with the model itself. So there's depending on the weight of the model, the base, and the speed of the gyroscope, so you have to pulse them at different rates. You also have to control the motor, how it's pulsed, how it's spinning the gyroscope up. So there's lots of variations right there. And we need a programmer on site. I mean, Tom Butler's been doing a phenomenal job starting with that. He's not a programmer at all, but he did figure out how to get the servos to move using the Pololo. It's basically like a robotic PWM, pulse wave modulation chip. Mike Gamble has also worked with a similar device, and he's programmed one of those as well, trying to get him down here. But really, there's so many projects going on simultaneously, and there's so many potentially amazing experiments that could happen that I can't do them all simultaneously, or you end up doing nothing. So we got to concentrate on one thing at a time right now. Whatever's inside the Faraday cage is what I'm concentrating on the most, because that's already set up, that's already there, and more exciting to look to go on whatever we have almost complete. So
it's a lot of work that need to be done for sure, certain, but I'm sure you're having a lot of fun doing it, and that's why you keep on doing it.
Yes, we're definitely having fun. We're looking for other people that want to have fun too. Like if you enjoy doing this types of experiments and you're in the New Jersey, New York area, definitely hit us up, and we'll put you up, room board, come down here, help out at the lab. Have to be vetted first, of course, and we'll get things moving.
Well, that's a very tempting invitation, and one of these days I might take you up on it and just show up. I know that I have fun when I do my stuff, my little experiment, but you have a very sophisticated environment right there, and it's all good, Mark.
Harold, where are you based out of?
Downey, California.
Audi, California. Okay, well,
Downey, yeah. And by the way, my propulsion system, because I have 3 patent pending based on 4, but one of them, the first one, looks like I might get a pioneer patent, because they sent me my first office action. They only rejected in section 101 and 112. Like I had to fix all these, change the claims. But in 101, basically, it's not operable. But easy to overcome that one, because I already have the build the device and work, and I have it on YouTube to show that, hey, I have a propulsion system that works. And it's beginning to look good for me. I mean, I'm optimistic that in the next couple of months, I hope to get it, And they published it recently. I think I will send you in fact, if you want, I send you a copy of the publication so that you can read it. Because eventually, at some point, I will have to go in APEC and give my presentation, showing my propulsion device, everything, because I have several of them built. I'm testing it, have the new one. I want to have all of them, I want to have all my ducks in a row. I'm writing the theory for publication, the mathematics, working out all those little details, because I know that as soon as I publish it, there will be a lot of questions, when I publish the math and everything. But, that's life. We're all working for the same goal, to get this UFO up in the air, up in space, whatever. But that's the cool part about APEC. Open mind, new questions, new ideas. Everybody is going at the same time, working toward the same goal. We're all going to win, all of us.
We're going to win it together. That's right. We're a
Hey, Harold,
community.
Exactly.
Harold, this is Tony.
Hey, yes. Oh,
Send
good to
me
see you.
send me your patent publication or just the number and I'll look it up.
I will.
If you need any help with the patent, let me know. I write my own, so I know how to write.
Me
patents.
too. You know, and that's cool. I would send you one. You know, the publication was published. It had two mistakes. One is the spelling error in one of the, which is not bad. You know, that is fixable. I already requested, you know, to make the change. And the other one is the one paragraph they put it kind of out of whack. You know, a break in between. And I think that was a mistake that I made myself. I did not notice it. But you know, that's fixable. But yes, I will do it tonight. I will send you what I will a copy. Let me see. In fact, I can tell you right now. Let me look at my book and I will give you the number. If you have the private pair, you should be able to see it right away.
Yeah,
Let's see.
but the reviewers sometimes are just totally stupid too. They're running across something.
The publication number is 2022/00379771A1.
00379771.
Yes, and then the letter A as in Apple and number 1. 2022/00379771A as in Apple 1.
Oh, they just published it this year. Okay.
Yes, February the you know, and it took, you know, I'm surprised. I thought it was going to take me 3-4 years before they send me my first action, but you know, look like they sent me my first action before they published.
Mhm.
I was surprised. And I said, wow, you know, that's really, well, maybe because they had new people, whatever happened, but I'm good. I feel good about it. So,
Did you do an age petition with it?
no,
You can, and you just basically tell them what your age is, give them a picture of your driver's license and ask for a extended whatever.
see, I didn't know about that. I learned recently. On top of that, I learned that I can apply as a micro entity because I did not make over 200,000 last year. I wish I had.
There's two of
Micro
them.
Micro entity lowered the price for the patent application a lot,
Yeah. But there's
almost
two
to
of them.
half. You know, it's like $500, you know, for the whole thing.
There's a
Micro entity.
There's a micro and another one. There's
The
3 of them.
small, there's regular and the small business, the small entity and the micro entity.
Yeah, the
Micro entity, the income limit is that anybody who may owe under 200,000 a year can apply it as a micro entity, or you have to do send the form 15A, I believe 15, you know, SB 15, and declare one is a micro entity in terms of income.
Yeah, you can only do
You know.
4 patents as a micro though. Then you have to go back up to the next one up and small.
Mhm.
So
The small, yeah, I send it as a small entity.
yeah, but you can only do 4 as a small entity.
Yeah, a small entity is like about 1,060 right now. I
Oh,
think.
no, I do the
my-
small. I only pay about $830.
Well, if you did it some time ago, but I know I had to pay 1,060 when I did the a small entity, because I paid like about 800 something, and they sent me back and notice, no, you have to pay more, you know, and then it came out the total in the end was 1,060.
You
But
might
now
have-
it's a micro entity. If I send that form, now it's like about $500. So I figure, you know what? My next one is going to go as a micro entity because I have several of them. And in one of them, the one I'm going to file next, that's the one that I was interested in using your solenoid. And what I do is that I will send you later a writing and to see how I was planning to use your solenoid. because I have one of the rotors, when you see a rotor, a different design than the one of my first patent. I wanted, it's perfect, like for example, to put a thrust reversal. I have one rotor producing forward thrust, and then what I do, if I use your device, your solenoid, then I'll be able to retract the rotor and put it, to produce rear thrust, so in an airplane, thrust reversal, in which in an airplane, I move that rotor back to another set of magnet, and then I have thrust reversal. Think, man, this is cool,
Yeah.
just like in the jet engine, reduce the climb, you got your thrust reversal. This one only had to do, and I thought about your device. That's what I was interested in your solenoid, because it will,
It doesn't
retract it,
have
because it's turning and I can retract it at the same time. I said, that's perfect for me. I will send you the drawing, later on when I find the patent. I will show you how I wanted to use it, because I already wrote the patent and everything.
If
And
you'll send me an NDA, or you want me to send you an NDA, then we.
I don't care, because everything's going to be public anyway. I put it out, for public. If somebody goes out, and decided to copy, fine with me, because if some business entity copy it, sometimes they say in the patent language, the best thing can happen to an inventor is when a business commit an infringement, use your patent, then you can sue and make money. But some inventions, don't make any money because nobody's using it. Nobody wants to buy it. Everybody wants to use it for free. So I figure, you know what? I don't care, I let it out, put it out there. So when I saw, because I want to make it public, especially when it is in YouTube, what am I going to do? Go looking around everybody that look at YouTube, send me my NDA? No. So eventually, my stuff, the newer one would be in YouTube. I'm going to show it. I cannot sign and asking anybody to send me an NDA, so I'm just going to let it go. Just be open about it. And when I have everything together, then I will give my presentation in APEC, and then everybody will ask me tough questions, and I hope they do. I ask tough questions. I want to. I don't care if they ask me, hey, is the strawberry, is the thrust come out in strawberry and grape flavor? I don't care. It's a valid question. It's silly, but it's okay. So let's see how it happens.
I read an article once that said that most inventors who keep their invention secret tend to make nothing. It's only
exactly. It's like I think some of them that come on APEC. Oh, I don't want to disclose my secret. Okay, you don't have a patent pending. You don't disclose. I mean, to get a patent, you have to disclose it all, or you get nothing. For 20 years, you own the monopoly. So what? If their invention is that good, and some, GE, Pratt & Whitney, or somebody come and copy, guess what? There'll be a lot of attorney knocking at home and say, hey, they're using your patent. Let me be your attorney, so they can. That's how it worked out, So that's the way I feel about it.
The way I look at it, if somebody steals my inventions, that means I've made something great.
Yeah, because you can always sue, because no matter what, somebody's going to do it, like, for example, foreign country, your invention, you don't know if in China, some inventors say, oh, this is good, it's using it. Like, what is China known for? Stealing intellectual property. They steal everything. And I have a story, a friend of mine, Lewis Electric, he started doing business with the Chinese. The Chinese came to him, he's in Signal Hill, in California. So the Chinese came in, he makes electric motor. He has like nearly 40 patents. And the Chinese got all his secret, for 2 years. And then after 2 years, the Chinese said, you know what, we're not interested, and they went away. And now what they do, they are selling his stuff in China. And if he want to sue, he has to go to China. When you have an invention, even though he has patent, and that's how the Chinese went to him, even when you have patent, some foreign country, they might do it, and you may never know about it. But if someday you ever see your invention, oh wow, you know, you invented that, then it's up to you to decide whether to, you either have the joy of seeing your invention out there, even if somebody stole it, or sue the person. You know,
Not
but
sue,
then they're going to
not
tell you,
sue.
if you
How
have a
about
patent in that country, you get nothing.
if your country respects patent rights, then your country shouldn't let that whatever invention come from another country. If you're, you know, a citizen of that whatever country that, you know, you hold that patent. So even if China or any other country, you know, produce that, well, your country should not import it.
Well, you're correct, Lulu. That's how it should be, and that's how the law is written. But the reality is, it doesn't happen that way because
I mean, we apply
sometimes-
sanctions on other countries.
Mhm.
So we do have the capability of doing, we just did that right now, like, you know, like FINRA
yeah,
published sanction on Russia. And so, you know, like, it's funny
Yeah.
because how could you possibly do that? Like, we have shared, you know, stock ventures such as the International Space Station, such as, you know, other like GPS, you know, your 24 satellite orbit system that, you know, revolves around Earth. This is a global thing. So how do you sanction a country not using a global system? And, you know, like, what would that mean? Like the American people should lose on their stocks because the FINRA, you know, our securities department decided that they're going to do sanctions. So what, we lose on global stocks? We just dump them?
but
Do you understand? That's like, how wise is that decision?
yes, Lulu, you are correct. It's supposed to be that way. That's how the law is written. But the reality is, like it happened to my friend Louis Finco of Louis Electric. The Chinese say, sue me. And in order to sue the Chinese, you have to go to China. You have to have his patent or his patent that they store. They have to be registered through Chinese patent office, which maybe some Chinese inventor took the copy, his invention, and patented it in the patent office. You know, this is a story I hear. I don't know how true they are, but I know that part of Louis because I met him and he invited me to go do business with the Chinese. And I said, no, you know, a lot of Chinese friends that I have tell me the same thing. Hey, they steal everything. And that's what they're feeling, which is a big issue with the patent authority about respecting intellectual property. I hear very often that they are the #1 thief of intellectual property in the world. And last year, they surpassed the United States as more patent applied and granted per year for the first time. But a lot of those patents are from other countries that they have copied. And so in order for somebody to find out which invention they have, which may have been copied, then they have to go to China to sue. And chances are you're not going to win in a Chinese court. Now, these are things that I read on
Let them have their patent, but
invention
just don't bring
magazines.
it. Don't bring it where your patent is legit. Don't import it. Like, you know, domestic
You don't
products.
have to import it.
Yeah, so like
once-
they could do whatever they want. Like, yeah, they could like, you know, produce whatever they want. It's their problem. But you, at least where you know where you're validated
Mhm.
and you're supporting,
Exactly.
you know, your country, your resources, your products.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I would rather, for example, buy a cell phone with a core chip that's made in the US because I know, you know, the security is going to be really at the utmost rather than a phone that's the core chip is made in China, because I know that stack is going to be, you know, in some server somewhere and they have access at any time, any minute. They don't have rules or regulations to, you know,
That-
abide by. None. They just,
That
you
is
know,
true.
yeah.
They
So
are a communist society also. So, and it's one of the big problems that is going into patent laws, you know, about that the Chinese, they promise they're going to respect other countries' intellectual property, and they do not. So that is one big debate that is going on in the patent community, the intellectual property community. But, you know, that's life. You know, like I said, I know personally because I know
we have
somebody who
options
lived
and we
that
should
story.
pick our options
the-
wisely. on anything.
And
You know,
once,
like,
once a patent is published, it's out in the public domain, not in the public domain, but everybody knows about it. And you do not know, for example, somebody, in Vietnam or somewhere, some country in Europe, they read your patent, and then they can modify the patent in which they are infringing on your patent, but they may be producing it locally, and the local inventor may never know.
is the
never.
patent office a global entity, or is it per country? Each country,
No,
like,
it's global. They publish, everybody around the world. You see, when you're doing a patent search, you can go to the World Patent Depository, and you can look patents around the world. You can read patents from Japan, from Vietnam, from
I just thought it would
many
say
European
made in
countries.
or from, or like it would give it some, origin of a country of where that patent, like came from.
It's there, it's available because, like number one country in the world, that every country come to the United States Patent Office through the internet. They can look at it, every Tuesday they issue new patent, in the almanac, and then they can, the official Gazette of Patent, and they can read it, they just look at it and they say, oh, I like that patent, a new invention, and they have to do is just go in and they copy through the internet, because that's how I read a lot of patent. I go to the internet, the public pair, the patent access information retrieval pair, PAIR, and anybody from around the world can just go into the pair in the patent office and read any patent that is published in the United States. You can go to the world, authority, the patent, they publish all the patent from around the world. And you can go, for example, you can look in, if you read Japanese, you can go and look for a patent issue in Japan or in France or in Germany. And that's how it is when you read a patent, when you apply for the patent office search around the world. So when you get a patent, you have something unique, because the United States patent system is the best in the world.
I personally think patents really should be shared. I mean, it may be intellectual property, but I really believe in the ripple effect when somebody uses the patent information to make an invention across the country. I have a feeling that type of invention will soon make it to where the patent originated from. All the invention would become widespread.
Patent from around the world, you can go to different countries around the world to the patent office, and you can read the patent that they have. Everybody share, because different countries, they say that an inventor has a monopoly 20 years, who own the patent, and the inventor make money, but after 20 years, it's in the public domain. Anybody can use it for free. And number two, that's why we have so much progress in science and technology, because if an inventor can spend time and money and resources and year laboring and make a big investment, get a patent, the inventor can manufacture the product and sell it. But if some big boy, for example, if you invent some new fantastic propulsion system and it's for free, let's say, Pratt & Whitney, GE, they say, well, the patent is free, So the inventor set up business, but guess what? They can drive the inventor bankrupt. But if the inventor is the owner of the property, GE, Pratt & Whitney, or Rocketdyne, anybody can say, hey, we like your invention. We'll pay you to use your invention. Let's buy a license. It's a win-win situation. After 20 years, it goes in the public domain. Anybody can use it for free. Anybody can manufacture it. Nobody is, come a loser. But good invention make money for the inventor and for the manufacturer of the licensee, the one that buy the license. And that is the problem. That not every inventor make money, because not every invention has commercial value. The one that had commercial value, those are the ones that are get copied. But a lot of the patent, the inventor never make any money because nobody want to manufacture it. Invest money in manufacturing the invention, go into the market, sell it, because if the public doesn't want it, the public doesn't buy it, nobody makes money. So they have to have commercial value. So it's one of the things, that's why, the law has been said, the patent should be shared with everybody, but let's give the inventor a chance to make money for 20 years. He owns the monopoly, and then everybody can use it for free. It's a fair trade.
Yeah, because
Yeah, I can-
technology evolves and then, something else is going to replace that. I mean, science keeps on evolving. So whatever it is in 20 years, something else is gonna,
Well,
it could only be used as a scientific reference to learn from. And,
Well, but that's what it is. The patent, part of the deal is, the legal deal is, okay, you invent something, you have to disclose everything, how to make it, and then they publish the information, and it's out there for everybody to see it. It's like everybody's there to see it. So that's how science made progress, because somebody else can take that invention and make it better. That's why it had to be public. It has to be disclosed. And part of the law, if you do not disclose everything on how to make a patent, the invention, then they say, well, you kept something secret. Your patent is non-functional. It doesn't work because you did not say that part of the secret. Then they can deny you the patent and you make money. Or if somebody discover it and make it better, discover what works, they can apply for the patent. And but it's a complex system, but it's a fair, good system, because that's the reason why we have so much progress. All the creative minds inventing, everybody invented, putting things out there. That's how we have, we're the beneficiary of all this progress, of all those inventions, like the computer. Look what we have now, the internet, all those things. Well, it looks like we're having an intellectual conversation like we never had before.
I'm experimenting with chemical changes in different compounds, as far as like liquids and like crystals and food items. I'm using what you use as a chromatograph.
Yes.
And I can sense the change in the dioxide readings or whatever. I'm just starting out with this. I have to do more reading to know exactly what like as far as like percentage values and measurements and stuff. But I'm experimenting with this. I don't know, this seems kind of out there, but hold on,
No, I mean, I understand what you're doing. You are like an inventor, making an investment in discovering something, and eventually, as you try out different things, you discover something, and I hope you do.
Well, I want to tell you this person. It's actually not my invention. This person discovered that picture.
Welcome.
What was that? Oh, that pictures can affect objects for some reason, and I thought that was a little out there, but they said that certain images can affect like the chemical composition in like, I guess, water per se, or liquid. And that these images or pictures can emit wavelength frequencies and like supposedly in the graviton state. And I thought that was such a far out concept. Like I thought it was, fiction, but I decided to look into it, and they said that in those ancient temples in Borobudur in India, that there are these mandalas. mandalas all over the place that like they said helped resonate with the some of the structures in the temple and stuff, you know. So I decided to like buy this book that this person was
Mandalas
experimenting.
by Nikki. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with the mandalas, which is a very interesting concept, but I never seen that book. I think you have to.
No, I managed to get it. They said that the chromatograph will detect changes in the chemical composition by the photoelectric effect, and that these mandalas supposedly emit gravitons, which sounds nuts, but I'm gonna try it and use a chromatograph to see any chemical changes because of that. And it's due to Bragg's plane, when waves they use like Bragg's plane is like it's basically the transverse wave is a traveling wave, and then it becomes a standing wave, a reflection off the barrier. That's what they call a Bragg's plane. This is math. So like a Bragg's plane is basically like a cell box, and it's like the cell box is a container. This is an illustration, and you drop like say a pebble of water in the box, and the waves spherical go out. And remember that the waves will hit the boundary and reflect. And they call that a Bragg's plane. And and they said that the waves, when they hit a barrier, that either they like double in power or decrease in power, like depending on the angle of that's hitting the barrier, and that would make the wave, depending on where the angle is being hit on the first barrier, and it will determine like how much energy is lost or transmitted. And this is like sub wavelengths. So but what I'm getting, they call that a Bragg's plane. So like they got levels of dimensions in the math where I guess the higher like Bragg's plane 2, 3, and 4 are like when the waves get higher in frequency, I think. When they start converging. This is a wave guide. This is a wave guide of a sort, but in a math form. And but the problem is, so if the waves go out of the box per se, like they have some signal loss or something, Bragg's planes, or they're also called Borrelian something. Damn it, Beryllium cells or something like that. But I know Mark has heard of Fermi surfaces, so it's the same concept. It's density energy layers. This is math, but I'm getting to a point with this. But basically a Fermi surface 2 or Bragg's plane 2 or whatever. Like,
are you a physicist, a mathematician, or a chemist?
Probably all three. I'm mostly, I'm just starting out in chemistry, but I'm seeing this experiment they do at the mandalas, but as far as like I'm getting to a point with this, so like
that's good.
As far as like Bragg's plane 2 and high, those, I think those are, it's talking about those are higher harmonics and frequencies, so all the waves match up and superimpose basically, and it's like a wave guide where it helps the wave guide the waves when they cancel out. So anyways, a chromatograph basically would measure like the differentiating values percentage basically, and changes in the chemical composition of the liquid or like the crystal. It would change phases on the atomic level, since gravitons are like a massless particle or whatever. It would go in and affect like on the lowest levels, since light is very, very small. So but case in point, it's going to change the element that it's on
transmutation of an element.
Yeah, basically, yeah, it's going to phase change the element. It could also I'm going to test that to see if the mandalas really have any change in it at all. So I think the best thing would be able to use is like a crystal or liquid. So the person that said that Nikki Mandala did this, he managed to change. He claimed he managed to change a I think it was a blue topaz to a white topaz color, white topaz crystal, with one of the mandalas, and he said it was endothermic or exothermic effect.
Exothermic.
I think it was exothermic, but either basically both of those mean it's
Good.
exotation frequency means going up.
Exothermic.
Exothermic, yeah. Endothermic or
Give out the heat.
yeah, the heat, yeah. But he said that this causes reactionless effect, which means there's no temperature detected. Like it's not affected by any temperature since it's a graviton supposedly being emitted from the mandala. First, when I went back on his research, this is what he's claiming. I'm gonna test it, if I see a change because of the photoelectric effect.
No, on the graviton and the mandala, it's not the only one that have been saying that, because I read years ago, probably 20 years ago, books about that, telling me about the power of the mandala, and that's why mandalas are very important in the Hindu culture.
Yeah,
Because they claim they had a lot of power, healing power, everything. And so what you're saying, is not as absurd as you might think it is, or some way out. I mean,
yeah,
maybe for us, for somebody else who are not familiar with the culture, for us would be absurd or way out or look like weird, but
yeah.
it is not, because there seems to be some validity to it from ancient
Oh yeah.
readings, from
My
ancient
my
writings
yeah.
from way
I'm
back
I'm
then.
basically like the most
But you
far
are
out.
look like you're doing something good there.
Yeah, well, I'm
Well,
like one of the
collect all that
most far.
information, and I hope that you discover something and publish it in a book, or get
Oh, I will.
a
When I get
patent, or
enough,
make an invention, or do something. But keep
when
it
I get
coming.
enough, when I get proof of the experiment, like something actually done, then I'll go ahead and just post the information to you guys or whoever, and they can spread it. Like I don't care, but this has already been done by previous people, and I'll cite their research because I'm not a research thief. I'm trying to
But it's
achieve
good.
I'm trying to achieve a certain goal. I was wanting to use my methodology is using the most inexpensive novel methods to attain the most highest results that you can do, even more than with like more than with atomic interferometers and all this expensive equipment. I was looking for more effective ways to do science projects, and this found my interest, and I just thought about it. I looked it up online.
Something interesting and exciting there.
Yes, but I
Well, good.
told you.
Have fun, and I hope that you discover something important. But what you're doing look like very interesting. A very novel approach you're using there to get what you want to do.
Yeah, but no, I mean it's pretty fascinating.
So that is good.
To detect a chemical
It
change,
is.
either be raising an excitation frequency or de-excitation. So which means like going higher to the photon spectrum of changing, or like what Bernard said with Walter Russell's chart. You'll go up the chart with excitation, or you'll go down. So but each mandala has a different effect. They say that changes either decreasing or increasing the energy being pumped in, and it actually the size of the mandala. He said that if you have like a smaller version of the picture, actually concentrates the energy, or basically, so it emits smaller wavelengths,
Okay.
which that sounds about right. So, but I'm gonna test this and see what let you guys know. I'm just telling
Good.
you all
That's good.
I'm just telling you my experiments that I'm doing. I got another one where I'm reading on ESP research. That's my biggest one. I'm a brainwave.
For everyone, ESP is a very mysterious subject, and it is something that gets everybody's attention.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's good
Microtubules.
talking to you.
Yeah. But microtubules emit light in the photon range, and Jeremy Rise was talking about this with the guy called Void as Yin Yang, and he's doing research on it as far as like amplitude using non-commutative phase algebra or geometry. He thinks that we've been tricked by Philolaus back during the Greek time, where he had his lyre, which is that plucked string instrument, that he flipped it around to trick everybody about the way we use music scaling, that it's symmetrical, but he's arguing the case that it's not. Void as Yin Yang is saying that we've been lied to about how we measure music with the harmonics, but you would have to go check out what he means by that. But he says using non-commutative phase math is how you do it. So I don't want to, and that's like the different measuring of the amplitude wavelengths. Like when he said about frequency and that the amplitude wavelengths are measured differently than they should be, that got my attention. And I'm just going over what he said. But we're going back to like microtubules, which are like the smallest part in your cells. Basically, I think microtubules are smaller than DNA. I could be wrong. I haven't checked, but they say that grabs the light itself of photons.
Yeah,
And
I read something published about that, the nano carbon tube as
well,
microtubule.
I'll tell you, the bands, like these little, like picture a fiber optic cable line, and it's like little tiny fibers about that size or smaller, actually, much smaller. In the microtubule structure, these little fibers are basically smaller than the wavelength of light. Of photon light.
Wow, that's
Because
very small.
how they're that small, but like they're literally, those fibers are that small. And since they're below the wavelength of light, they can grip the light. So it's like metamaterial.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And go ahead.
Well, hey, I have to keep going. You have something very exciting. I hope we hear from you at some point in the future about your research in APEC, especially you have something of interest that you're doing an important research, and that is good, because especially if it helps to create energy, because propulsion, anytime you have propulsion, you need energy. And do you think that what you're doing might be able to, let's say, excite some matter to produce energy, some kind of
yeah, definitely.
fission, fusion?
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, basically you have the higher energy rate, the more energy that thing is going to produce, depending on depending on your like your frequency line and how much resistance. Your resistance basically, determines how much signal loss and time that object has in capacitance. So that will determine your length time of use of that. So it could be like 10,000 years of energy use of that, and then it degrades, because of the resistance. So
all right, that's cool, super cool. Well, anyway, I have to get going. Good night, and I hope we get to see your research in APEC at some point. Keep up the good work. Okay.
all right.
Thank you, everyone.
Who else is there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I'm
Who is
still
it?
here.
Hey, Glenn.
Hey, Mark.
Ah,
No, it's L. So yeah, Mark, did you hear about the experiment I'm working on? Or no, you didn't catch it?
I was probably concentrating on something else, but is it an actual experiment or just a thought experiment?
It's right now it's a thought experiment, and it's not by me. It's by this person in China. Oh, I think it's China, around their experiment with mandalas and they're gonna see if there's a chemical change in objects like liquid or crystal, like basically, and see if there's like a using a chromatograph to see if if there was any value percentage change due to, like, they said that these pictures emit the photoelectric effect or something. So I know that sounds kind of odd, but I'm going to test it out myself and see if there's anything to it. So if I see a chemical change value, being like, your excitation, your terminology for excitation and de-excitation frequencies. Yeah, I want to see if there's an excitation increase in value or a de-excitation increase in value using a chemical analysis method approach, chemistry. So if you look at chromatograph, like, it'll explain everything in Google, if you're not familiar with that. So
Excitation of what?
the change in the element, basically, like chemical compound, like it'll become like blue topaz will become like white topaz. I think if it's exposed to enough, like a light or something, enough over a period of time. I'm talking subatomic physics with, like, say, photonic light. So I don't know much about that, but, like, it would change if exposed to enough radio frequencies, not radio frequencies, but very small wavelength frequencies over amount of time, right? An object would change. So crystal changes its crystalline structure, into different shapes, like hexagons and stuff. And the more, like, wavelengths of light that hit those, tiny crystal, I'm talking like in the nanoscale, on this or millimeter scale, those, those crystal structures and the crystal, like, change shape instead of every time frequency is injected into them. So, like, the photoelectric effect, photonic light will, emit, like, say, in the gamma spectrum, will emit into the object, and over time that's going to change it, if it's left there for a while. So the guy's claim is that these pictures,
With
I
the
know that
mass
sounds,
increase or decrease, are you doing like fusion, or are you depart
yeah,
what
it's
down
cold fusion on the like atomic level, or the gamma level, like the gamma frequency radiation level. So I don't know how many hertz that is, but the guy, what's his name? I can't see it. Hold on. Nikki Saraswati claims that these pictures emit this type of thing, and using the chromatograph, he detected changes in the object. So I'm gonna test that. I know that sounds like a wild claim, but I was interested in I don't know. I want to see if he was right about it. So I want to follow everything he did to the letter, and plus some extra other chemistry stuff I know about measuring the different changes in the fluid and stuff. So chemical analysis. So other than that, besides that project, I'm
Like an
also-
alternate image than what the real was, just by exposing it to high frequency, like continuum possible.
the image is supposed, the image they claim is supposed to emit the high frequency, which that sounds nuts, but
No, and peaks do that too. Like, even John Hutchison, he was saying something, don't like sandblast, old items, like, because then that you won't have that effect. Has to have like the original coverings, because that absorbs, energy, human energy. And so for space and time, that would, be very important for that, if you're talking about like the spectrum where it would emit, like if it has, the visible spectrum or X-ray.
These mandalas actually emit, like the guy claims it's not real, it's in the gamma spectrum, but he says that it's gravitons it's emitting, and I'm like, that's nuts, but I'm willing to try it. And a chromatograph is an actual measuring instrument. Like, it's chemistry is an actual thing. I mean, everybody knows this. You have like when you put like you mix Coke with I forget the name of the tablet, but it's like you can't mix Coca-Cola with Mentos. Yeah, and you have a chemical reaction. It's like that. It's going to change the liquid chemical reaction in the substance by wavelength, wavelength exposure, frequency exposure, which is radiation basically. But I use frequencies as my terminology, so that's going to cause a chemical reaction change in the object by the the mandala picture or whatever. And I think there's something to it, because they said different spectrum colors of light do affect things. I mean, you got ultraviolet, you got your UV light, which is blue, and your infrared, which can cause healing on different parts of the body. I mean, also I'm basically a medical major kind of person, and that's really my main thing is medical. And that's how I know quite, and I got Google, so, but I was trying just like different methods, and this was interesting.
I mean, if you read about, I know this just sounds really wrong, but if you read about like the communist experimentation in World War One, War Two, and what they did, and they tried all of these experiments on humans. They pushed the limits, but you just have to read and understand what you're reading. They tried, the DNA variations. It's there. We really don't need to be like, experimenting on that, doing that over and saying, oh, this is raw elements.
No. Well, there's proof of it too. There's proof of value changes you could do. I mean, using novel methods, you can, like graviton is like super ridiculous high energy, and like if this is a method to detect that with, I mean, shoot. So like I'm gonna try it, and I know how chemistry works really well. So I need to really look over everything again just to make sure. I want to follow everything this guy did to the letter, and see if there's anything to it. Then I want to try some extra things on the side for extra.
Do you think if we expose ourselves as humans to these rays, what would our particle beta
chemical
decay
matrix?
be? Like,
Basically,
would it go into the redshift? Could we become like these like zombies? Like, do you understand? Like each color we possibly.
I mean, if you have decay,
if
you start having disordered signal patterns in your body, stuff is going to go wrong. One organ's not going to function, do its job, and the rest of the body's going to start, following suit, and then you're going to have like symptoms of, like laryngitis, or you're going to start developing diabetes or whatever, because of another function's not doing
because it's measured in one particular light spectrum. Again, but whoever is experiencing that, it just might be like everything is homogeneous because it's a relative. So
Well,
I-
all diseases is basically due to chronic metabolic imbalance. That's why you have cancer and all that, because there's an imbalance somewhere within the body that's undercompensated or overcompensating too much work, like overcompensate being overstressed, producing too much of something like, your hemoglobin is producing too much blood or whatever, just as an examples. But if like you said, even if your body's in resonance with itself, then you'll start healing. It's been known that if you over oxidize cells, you can actually reset their biological clock over again, thus effectively reversing age to an extent.
there are many ways, like
Oh yeah, but
if you ingest
the most
monatomic, it
yeah
will,
yeah.
and they sell this stuff. I bought it. Like, I really did. I mean, it's just, they do
Well,
sell
I'd rather
different
experiment
forms.
and make sure, I just don't take somebody gives me though. I'm kind of against drugs in a way. Like I know they can be beneficial, but there's also too many side effects that affect other parts of the body just for one effect. And I don't really like that. I'm more of a holistic approach and
It's still the same DNA, but takes different
well,
forms. So
yeah,
it,
yeah.
so
Well, yeah.
elements that,
Well,
it all works.
picture the thing you ingest is a different oscillation rate, that it, what's that gonna affect on parts of the body. But that's getting out there. But there's been guys, my research, like I said, like my main area of research is brainwaves. I know how brainwaves and I know how to scan the brain and check all the frequencies coming off the diodes that
Like an EMG.
yeah, well, EMG,
Yeah, that's,
EEG,
yeah.
CAT scan, and just basically, I know just basically all the different types of scans for the human scanning the brain, basically, and I've done it myself. But right now, I've also even known about what you call
Neural
wireless
pulse stimulation, like,
yeah, just
how fast
basically,
their
yeah,
neural
yeah,
waves like pulse,
yeah, yes. But I've also know how to do wireless neuro scanning detection with the like different sensors, even on with the cell phone now. I know how to wirelessly scan the brain with the cell phone. I
Yeah,
managed to
those,
like
yeah, it depends
I,
on like that core chip. So those are inaccurate reading because,
oh
it
no, that's what I solved
uh,
that problem though in the
deep,
way
a lot of things
I've
that get
find a
lost.
way to like fix the inaccurate readings by measuring the offsets from the signal, and I managed to like scan my brainwave radio frequencies, or well, it's extremely low frequencies, it's not the radio frequencies, but I managed to like get the sensor and I calibrated it myself, and I used the camera to like scan my head, and then I took the noise of that, and it had to do a lot of modulation transforms and Fourier and all this stuff, and finite time domain measurement to like filter out the signal. So I used a lot of different stuff to try to separate all the like
You should be careful.
garbage.
You don't want like the, deposits
Oh well,
back.
no,
Like,
oh
issue.
no, I know that I mean that's my frequencies. I could screw something up, of course. Like I don't I hadn't like I take the noise reading and then I separate everything and I see what's running and stuff from that. I don't try to
Noise is
like
better. Remember that. Like,
well, I don't
see,
try to
so
send the signal back in like near my head, because I know what that's gonna do. Because when you refeed the signal back into the object, it's gonna change it. So I don't do that until I'm 100% sure I know what I'm doing, So, but I'm
yeah, if you don't,
I'm
like you're doing
experimenting in that,
with
and
little
uh,
machines, not on a like big scale, you should be
well,
really
no,
careful.
no, as long as you know how to do your modulation schemes, and then you get more signal gain than loss. You're basically solving all the problem of with anti-gravity and cold fusion and everything. It's all just a cohesion of amplitude waves and a constructive interference. and that they don't cancel each other out. So, you have your amplitude wavelengths that you got to make sure, that's what I was talking to Mark about the oscilloscope, but since, they break easy, I've been studying ways by other people that how they are experimenting with how to measure or predict, estimate correctly measures beyond the bandwidth of the object, and to be able to actually filter out, the signals that way without, bandwidth limit. And they were using different math modulation schemes to make sure the real model data was exact with the noise. So that's been one of my main projects, and I'm going to try to combine that with my brainwave research, and see if I can like combine the signals together, and then effectively I get psychic powers. So you send the signal correctly, modulated, and all the amplitudes are positively constructed, and there's no signal loss. There's just only gain, and you keep mitigating the loss. Basically, your brain is being totally coherent from all its frequencies that it's going through, because the frequencies are chaotic. So that basically is how you get psychic powers. It's your brain has to have all its amplitude waves that are bouncing back and standing waves, synchronizing more efficiently. So there's no wasted energy. So that's
So
been
you
my
possibly propel to the future if you have psychic powers.
Oh, you
and
could. I mean, like your
Yeah.
body's turning into a resonator. They said, it's your body, makes chemicals in its own self. I mean, your brain makes serotonin and other types of amphetamines and stuff. And it's just it's easy. Just I think our problem is how we measure crap. I mean, I'm pretty sure Mark can agree with that, but we're limited by inaccuracies and and things, and so.
What am I agreeing with?
He's like, no, I'm saying you can agree that we have a lot of inaccurate measures in the way we measure stuff as far as like frequencies and stuff due to like background radiation and static noise, right?
I don't know. Those are noise levels that are possible to to account
Influence.
for.
Yeah, but you're always going to have like some offset in signal loss, right? Or a little bit off in approximation measurement. I mean,
I'll tell
Um,
you, Mark, when you guys did your experiments,
Depends on the noise. It depends on the noise level, really.
oh, okay, that's interesting. I have to check that some more. That's kind of been my main thing I'm looking into. So like, so I've just been Googling on other people's possible ways to like measure noise frequency and stuff. The quantum fluctuations, how they could do and stuff. So, they've been
Well-
trying to model the turbulence flow. So
Well, there are noise generators that can make a broadband noise level rise. And we were actually in talks about using such a device, modulating it to the audio frequency of our voices, and using that to communicate with a flying saucer.
oh, that sounds yeah, it sounds about right. If are you, but is it hard to distinguish like the amplitudes and like the peaks and the valleys of the waves? Like, is it hard to get those measured in the noise?
It would be the peaks and the bell. It would be the amplitude modulation, AM radio communication. So
Yeah,
of a broadband noise.
yeah, but you're able to get every exact exact reading of the amplitudes, right? Not any one inaccurate measurement.
That is what AM radio does. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I mean, you're saying accurate and perfect. Nothing's perfect. So yeah, there always is going to be a little bit of noise in the signal. Even in your computer, there's
yes.
there's noise in there as well, and the signals, the dits and dashes as a USB communication. There's a checksum at the end to make sure that the amount of bits that you sent through are correct. And, you know, there's little errors here and there.
Okay, so like I'm saying is, you want to factor in those errors, like those are the offsets that can help you get the exact readings. You know, so that you know it won't be, you know, just an approximation. That's what I'm getting at, is like I know that you're gonna have jitter and, you know, basically, but I'm just trying to find a ways to actually measure you know, jitter and have it as an exact model to reality. I know that's supposed to be the ideal thing, but you know, that's not how reality really works, if you get what I'm saying.
Mhm.
So, but that's what I'm looking into right now, is to basically, you know, get an exact ideal reading with the errors and stuff. Basically, it's a lot of math by you know, other people. So, you know, they have what's the thing, Gauss elimination method or something like that, when it comes to like amplitude modulation, frequency separation and stuff. So I don't know, this is just a lot of articles I've been digging up, and so I've been doing some reading. I kind of have to disagree with John Hutchison about reading things. You know, I think that does really help out a lot, actually. So, but other than that, somebody was talking about something in the chat with me. I'll be on.
Mark,
Yeah.
remember last week when you guys were doing that experiment in the lab? Like it was maybe like you ran it for like 2 hours or something.
Okay.
I don't know, but since I was listening to it, you know, believe it or not, I really do believe whatever you guys do, you know, when you run these experiments, whoever's listening to it, somehow that, you know, energy or frequency or resonance factors, it affects my location. I don't know how to explain it, but it really does. So I don't know, like when you link technology through sound, through, you know, just satellites, however the signal is being propagated, it does have an effect one way or another. I mean, frequency is information, is energy, transferring energy from one, you know, one form to another. But I don't know how to explain it. But really, like let's say I listened to you guys and I went and I had to go somewhere. I felt like the whole world was standing still and I was going. Like I would look at my like odometer. I'm going normal speed, but everybody else just seems slower. I don't know if it's these waves somehow. Either I'm becoming super fast where the world seems slow, and it only like manifests itself if I like look at a particular point, then something like happens there. So I don't, I don't know how to explain it better than that. but I like I feel it. I feel like, that energy, which is kind of cool, because I don't know if we're pushing, we're warping space and time in all different locations, whoever's participating in this link, or it just,
Get it
I
back
don't know.
on. I kinda
Hello?
wanna go.
I'm talking to you. Don't be rude and talk on the phone. And you know what? I'm going to hang up. Talk all you want on the phone.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, sorry, Lulu. That was Tim. I just need to get out of here.
Yeah, sorry, still
Well,
here,
I enjoyed talking
just
to you
eating
more.
dinner. Eating my salad.
Yes, Elle, what's your name?
It's actually Jeremy. You're
Another
really-
term.
Yeah, another Jeremy. Go figure. But no, I enjoyed talking to you. I was really serious about the mandala thing. Like I said, if you're not familiar with the chromatograph, I mean, you probably are. But
You mean like the Mandela effect?
well, it's a mandala, it's a picture, but I do also know about the Mandela effect too, actually. Mandela effect's a reality change. Mandala is a picture that the Tibetan monks use, like for displays for imagery and whatever. But the mandala picture that the Tibetans use, they said that affects objects on a chemical level, causes them chemical change, like very minute in the gamma spectrum. So I want to use a chromatograph. Yes.
Me and Jeremiah Pop had a Mandela effect happen once that actually caused us to argue.
Well,
yeah.
no, actually, Mark, he's talking about, yeah, there's two of them. The mandala is a Buddhist thing, like he's saying the Tibetan monks, Buddhists use that. And then there's the Mandela, like Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, I know that one too. Looney Tunes is not TUNES. I don't care if they say in the 90s that, it was like some extra lettering change. They said some copyright thing, or however they said they had a company logo change, like documentation. Like, I think that's bull. Like, from what I remember, it's always been TOONS past the 90s into the 2000s. Like, they never changed it, So, and I never heard of tunes like a musical note like name. I never heard of that before, ever. I mean, I grew up since the 90s. I'm 34, so I grew up with Space Jam and all that, movie and stuff. So I never remembered.
You're old,
Hey,
man.
I'm also 34.
Yeah. So
You guys are old. You guys are like ancient. 34, that's over the hill.
Well, you must be 20 then. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like I'm a wrinkly 20.
Yeah, Generation Z guy here.
That's right, man. That's right. You know it.
No, I try to introduce my cousins who are Generation Z into like this physics stuff, but they thought I was over the hill with some of those things, and I'm like, you could, like, here's all the evidence, like I even show you how it works, like you could prove it, and they're like, no. So I don't know. I hope we can get the younger generation to this type of field of research, man, because it's coming down to, I mean, you guys hear what's going on with the graphene oxide, with all the nanotech stuff, and that's getting really serious. I mean, they're already showing how, like, to put nanographene in the brain, blood, barrier and stuff through, I guess so-called electronic food. You could look it up on Google, I mean, and some of the studies and stuff, and it picks up brainwave pattern signal recognition jitter, and they can differentiate between those oscillations about how a voice can be heard inside the human head. They can, decipher, like, the different amplitude points and stuff. Like, this is really, you can really look into this. They already got studies done by NCHBI or whatever that health website is. I don't know, something like. So and I think it's NHBL or NHBIL.com. I have to look it up. Let me see. Hold on.
I think you can
I'm logging
use
in.
like ultrasound to modulate somebody's head in a way that they'll hear something.
Oh yeah.
frequencies.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, that's what my research, that's the research I've been doing, is using frequency to modulate the human body. That's my main area of research. I know how that works and the different changes, but like it's basically you just picture self-resonance and you just think in terms of just frequency resonance and that's it, and like read up on the different changes that the different chemical compounds will go through. They did. I have an article in PDF that talked about how previous chemical changes would result in the next future, like the next chemical changes down the line. Going up the ladder. But dang it, copper would become like silver. Up the line in the abundance curve. So like think of chemicals like in the abundance curve. The next better chemical resulting from the chemical composition of the previous combination, right? So you're resonating it, and so like say if it's perfect resonance, or close to it, it's resonating and working together. It's like self-organizing pattern. The PDF was talking about the abundance curve of human chemical compounds coming together up the ladder chain line, and things are working better, cells are getting rejuvenated and stuff. So if you resonate certain parts correctly, try not to lose my train of thought here, but yeah, you just you just figure out the signal modulation keys in each resonance part of the body, and you just what depending on what method implementation, you can use infrared light to heal the body. It goes super deep. Infrared goes past the cellular tissues of the skin cells, like they call them the colomeres, which is the top like epidermis layer of the skin. Infrared goes past that, and it reaches all the way into like I'd say like three layers in or 4 layers in. Where the blood, like past the blood at least, it reaches close to the bone. Say the muscles. Infrared light, wavelength light. And they said that heals the body, if it pulse slowly, and causes the blood to coagulate and heat up, and it feels good. I don't think you could do it for a long time because I think you might heat up something, burn something on the inside like microwave burn, but it does work. They tested this. It's on Tesla Tech. You could check it out, infrared healing. UV, the blue light spectrum, UV light is really good, but UV comes from the sun, that could be harsh and you can get skin cancer too long exposed to it. But they said UV, the interesting is they said that, I know I'm rambling, but they said that UV light doesn't penetrate the skin more than infrared, but yet infrared is a larger wavelength. So like, and I was wondering why UV light would not penetrate further, and it actually would penetrate further than infrared light, but the only reason why it doesn't, and I haven't checked into it, but I think the skin in that the colomeres, it says, I think that's a smaller wavelength metamaterial fiber, in the colomeres or somewhere in the skin on the top layer that blocks the UV light from getting in, more. So, because of the skin effect, right? So picture your skin becoming like a metamaterial, and it's like, smaller wavelength than the UV light. So it's going to cause interference and blocks it, and it makes it reflect. So, it can't get in as good as infrared though, but since infrared's a larger wave, I'm still trying to figure out how it passes through more than UV light. So, I'm doing readings in that. So, it's a lot of medical crap.
Infrared doesn't pass in more than UV. UV goes in deeper.
Yeah,
Infrared
UV goes in deeper, but they said that that somewhere in the skin though, like I said, it doesn't pass in as much. That's what they really said that. But I think it's because that the skin's got a smaller like I said, smaller wavelength size, and some fiber, like microtubules are smaller wavelength size than the light spectrum. But this is cool because Void is yin yang. I think you know him. He was talking about with Carl Cartesian guy. I don't know if that YouTube channel guy, he was asking questions with Jeremy Rise. I was in the group chat. And it just happened coincidence, that I joined that chat. I don't believe in coincidence, not for one bit. Like, I'm getting eccentric now, I know, but I'm getting excited. But Carl brought up that what happens when, like, how does the virtual photons come into reality when the photonic light but the virtual photons enter reality to become photonic light, and he wanted to know how in the microtubules like that would do it. And since like water is, we're completely made of water, he said that the microtubules in the water or like the water in the microtubules, I'm sorry, and the very fine structure strands, like fiber strands, he said that the water would like itself would form these weird wave patterns in the water, like the water would become like these weird crystalline structures of I guess a hexagonal shape, like it's fluctuating enough to where it'll actually grip the virtual photons. It will form the shapes in the water to grip the virtual photons, which would then somehow become the light. And that was fascinating. And I was wondering how the water in the microtubule is structured enough to capture the light and become a light capacitor basically. And so basically your body stores light and pure light inside, pure photons. They call it biophotons. So, and that's what Void is Yin Yang was saying, basically. So I don't know if that's interesting or not, but I guess you guys went off, right? But yeah,
No, I'm still here. I don't know what Mark is doing. I'm still here for a while. It looks like it's just you and me though, man.
Yeah, but you didn't think that
because
was
it's
me?
9:30. Okay.
Oh, you gotta go.
Well,
Tony, I'm here.
Tony, okay.
I'm just listening.
Okay. Well, I'll keep it going for a while. Man, we're at
Sure.
9.5 hours.
Well, if
Yeah.
you want to stop, it's fine with me.
Well,
I'm just listening.
Yeah. Well, what I'm giving you guys is like pure freaking gold, man. Like this is your access to obtain, higher state of existence, Basically you build enough light biophotons in your body and then things start transmutation to better cell compositions. I mean, serotonin is a high chemical compound like, potassium would be. I mean, your body would actually theoretically produce more potassium, which is a higher energy state. So I think your brain, I think, is got some potassium, and I didn't check that part, but I need to look at it. You know how DMT would affect you, supposedly DMT dimethylene molecule. I forget the name of it.
Dimethyltryptamine?
Yeah, dimethyltryptamine. Yes. Your brain produces that dimethyltryptamine on its own. It produces its own if you have the correct, previous compounds to make it up, But you have to get everything in resonance and frequency coherence to have that happen. But basically, the ultimate effect goal is that your body will start producing more biophotons. Basically, like that's the end result.
Dimethyltryptamine is created when you're in REM sleep.
But it can also happen when you're not in REM sleep. If you Google it,
Yes.
it's been known. So
happens when you're high.
Exactly, when you're high. So you can create your
when
own
you're high on DMT, yes. DMT is found in every living thing.
Yes, and well, microtubules, light, basically biophotons are on the next level higher than that. So like, smaller, it would make up the DMT in some way. So you want to get more light in your body, more photons. So but once that, like, you start, your chemical reaction starts happening more and more and more higher up the chain, your body will actually start to become a resonator. I'm about to tell you some information about this Qigong, Qigong means energy practice. That's basically what it means, energy practice. Qi meaning energy and Gong meaning practice. You can look it up. I mean, you can put the two words, but they make their body movements where it goes in resonance, you know, using less, they call it somatic movement, but it means that the body is moving efficiently, not wasting energy, you know, in a loss of mitigation with the quantum fluctuation field, you know. So like you can actually measure that in some way. There are a lot of people in China that Qigong masters they tested where they started emitting infrasound from their hands because they practiced so much, and they were able to detect it with an oscilloscope and, you know, Raman spectra equipment and all that crap. You know, there's these emissions were coming off of these guys, and they're affecting objects. I mean, one guy managed to, like, it was a CIA documents, managed to phase a rock through a table, and the table was unaltered, except like it had these little marks, like what Ken Shoulders, damn it, soliton wave experiment showed. You know, I forget the name of his thing now. Why does my mind go blank?
Because the DMT.
It's the DMT. Yeah, I'm creating my own DMT right now. Well, no, not yet. I'm probably on like maybe.
I'm just
I'm
messing
probably.
with you, man.
I know you are. I'm just going with it. Like I'm on maybe on a serotonin level at least, you know, below it. But there were like 3 chemical compounds below the DMT. But like I said, yeah, they tested this in China during the 80s. The Chinese Journal of Somatic Science. It's in the CIA documents. You go pull it up, and a lot of the Qigong trainers that Chinese people had a craze for, you know, back then, and they started finding people with paranormal abilities, and they actually sent some. Russell Targ was involved, and Audrey Puriak or whatever, I forget his name, but they went and, you know, did investigations on it, and they said some of the kids with like had blinders, they would put on their eyes so they couldn't see, but yet they would use their mind to, like, you know, I know that sounds very out there, but they said they did testing on that, and the readings on predicting seeing things with their mind's eye, quote unquote, was exact and all that. So
there's a school in England that specializes in you know, in doing this.
yeah.
I think it's cruel because, you know, it's not normal. Like, they're forcing these kids to, you know, I saw the whole like documentary, and, you know, it gives it this upbeat, like, oh, you know, these kids have this, but really, like, they're stressing these kids into these abilities.
I don't know. I have to disagree with you, Nawal, because I believe practice makes perfect, but I think you're saying that the kids,
you know, you don't have children, you
to-
don't have kids, like biological kids. I do. I don't care, even if my kids have the potential of such abilities. I wouldn't want to blindfold my kids all day and push them like, you have to see, you know, that's cruel.
well, yeah,
That's,
but
you
I
know,
mean,
not right.
you
It's
can
against
no,
all,
but you
you know.
can encourage them though. But I guess what I'm trying to say is
If
you don't
they
have to.
choose to say, hey, look, mom, look what I could do. Okay, great.
Well, sure,
But
yeah,
to forcefully induce it, to
no,
drive
yeah.
it out of them,
Yeah.
that's just against every
But I
moral
do have to agree
thing,
with
you
that. I
know.
say I didn't know that. I didn't know they were doing that. Like I've heard
Yeah,
about it, but I didn't know they were doing that.
yeah.
I
I
was
mean,
talking about encouraging them. I'm, you know, not okay. But yeah, they had, like I said, Qigong masters. They said they were emitting emissions and stuff in the Raman spectrum, and you know, the objects were phasing through, and they had evidence of like little lines, you know, being embedded, like you know, Ken Shoulders experiments had showed, you know, like they look like little ripple lines in the wood or whatever, or through the glass, you know, like something just, you know, was scratched on it, but it, you know, it looked like it went through the object. So, but the CIA has documents on this, and you can look it up. And so, but basically they were trying to have energy efficient movement, so they generated more standing waves basically in the body. That's the secret, you know, more standing waves and amplitude was being created in the body to resonate more. and thus was making the body become a resonator. And no, this is physics. Like, this is, this is physics. This is pure physics. I mean, you can't argue. Like, this is provable, and it's been proved in many different facets of medical research and all that in science. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, I can even point to sources, of proving different stuff. So, but like I said, I think the end result is like you get a lot of light and biophotons, and then the body becomes literally transformed, and I think you'll start to glow like light. Now, this is just speculating at this point, but I think
I believe we all glow as long as we are consciously aware and we're using our brain for positive things. The natural human emits light, biophoton light, but you have to have, you have to be immersed in a positive thing. You're thinking, you're being productive.
I would
the power
think
of thought.
so. I would think so, because they said that in brainwave frequency measuring, that when somebody was focused or excited, they detected brainwave spikes in the amplitude very high. So that would measure, like a lot of energy in a certain section. So yeah, no, it definitely, and having a very positive effect, created more coherence in the brainwaves.
And you can get like evidence, those like little things that are called mood rings. Like, seriously, you wear one of those things and you could see your own energy without even any fancy, detectors.
Oh yeah, well, they say it's a
sensors.
chemical change due to the warmth from your skin, but still, that's still energy. I mean, it's still a chemical change, and it detects. I mean, if you measure like with the health and the amplitude frequency range with that of the chemical thermic reactions from the ring, you can still measure about like how if the body's stressed or not. So yeah, that still applies. I don't care what anybody says. Also, you can even use bifringents. I don't know if we talked about this, Nawal, but you can use bifringents to tell on the body, which is like, the light is, seeable, like on a screen. So like, how like, I don't know if it's Versadium, the YouTube channel, but one of the guys was able to see Wi-Fi on, the sensor. He created a camera that, on his cell phone to see Wi-Fi signal.
Vertasium.
Yeah, versus Vertasium. I think, yeah, whatever his thing was, but it was him or somebody else. But they said that bifringence is the key word. You were able to see the light spectrum itself of light, photonic light, and laser light, in like a widespread, spread out, expanded type of view instead of focus, and its natural flux. It's expanded and going all like going all over the place like a spherical wave motion. And when the light is like interacting in different, kind of like those conch shells, seashells, the inside, it looks like, very, rainbowy and stuff. That's what the bifringence looks like. So, you could put that on the body, and if all the light seems to like be concentrated, like all the light is like fusing together at one point on the body or on an object, you can actually test that by putting pressure on that little point, and you won't know what will happen. Actually, the object will shatter on that section where you press very lightly, where that light's accumulating at. That's called stress fraction measurement, or tensor point, or not tensor, but stress fracture point, that they use bifringents can measure points that are like very brittle in certain areas.
Like elasticity.
Yeah, that's it. The elasticity. Yeah. The elasticity. You can use bifringents.
Or how much hydrogen is embedded into whatever, or like depends on what core element you're trying to create.
That's because all the light, all the energy wavelengths is accumulating in that one spot, so it's putting a lot of energy, more than that object in that certain point can compensate for. So it's degrading it.
Thought theory. If you bring an ancient sculpture, okay? And that ancient sculpture was made at an ancient time, and you expose it to, you know, high frequency. Do
Yeah.
you think the possibility of whatever made it, or whatever in the vicinity, DNA was absorbed into making this, and when you're doing that, you're like you're releasing, you know, DNA material, ancient DNA
Possibly,
material?
yeah. Well, everything's got a, they use that, they have this thing theory called the magnetic tape theory, where everything has a emission reference. That's what the theory is. This is really getting out there, but like this is like in the ghost hunting type of.
Not ghosts, like, you know how John Hutchison, you know, he did the Ark of the Covenant idea, like, you know, he sent it to Egypt, and, you know, and they were communicating, you know, via phone, and then they were emitting these energies
Definitely
on
entities.
that.
Well,
So
Tesla said he communicated with entities for his information with his
I'll tell you this, what I've noticed, every time that they do excavate an ancient area, a lot of weird anomalies happen around the world, unexplained things like, you know, shadow people, or you know, things in the sky, or
Oh
you
yeah.
know, it
Trust me, I've
releases
been seeing that.
it does release this, and then when we're intentionally propagating it through electric magnetic waves, we're like really, like, you know, instead of, you know, like keeping the past in the past, you know, like we're like digging up the past and bringing it back to the future, you know.
There's a
And
theory in the Bible that says that the days of Noah will return in the end of tribulation.
well,
So,
I think it was meant more like the essence of Noah's genetics. Somebody in his tree line will rise up, you know, to, because at the end of the day, we're all linked, you know, to a source. So if we're linked to a source at one point, that is going to come back again. So yeah, that would
yeah,
make
I
sense.
believe, yes, I do. I know a lot of people are not. I'm a Bible believer. I know many people are against that, like in some way. I don't know. I'm saying if you guys are not, but I fully support the scripture. And I've been doing my Bible studies. I'm not.
I like the biblical stories, don't get me wrong, but I
Yeah,
don't want to believe in them as a godly thing. If I could explain it through science, it means they misinterpreted it and made it into a religious, you know, rule or this, without even
I
validating
understand
the
what you're saying.
scientific.
I personally though believe that science will actually prove the Bible.
Aha, so science
in my
prevailed.
opinion, like basically, I'm just saying.
Like, you know,
Um,
I've read every, probably, you know, holy book, you know, and they all still say the same story in their own version, but, you know, they make it seem like, oh, this, you know, mythical thing is called God did this and did that. Well, science could explain that. I mean, almost 99.9% of things, really, science can explain it, but we choose to believe in religion because it's cultural, because it's going to
yeah.
make your mom angry and your grandmother angry and your, you know, neighborhood angry if you say, you
Well,
know, otherwise.
there's an
And so
interesting thing I wanted to add. As far as like, what if you could discover something that was immaterial, like not material based, you know, and it was like it actually was a phenomenon in itself, like it wasn't like say abstract type of stuff like math, supposedly. Like what
and
if you
then
did?
it'd be real, and then it comes
Yeah,
to
well, like
fruition.
like it shows itself as a weird phenomenon instead of being something invented. And like say Cantor's set is basically when Cantor made the his math discovery as like I forget how they said it. The numbers can talk about themselves. So like he created like a diagonalization method to where the numbers can identify how long a certain math equation proof, needs to be solved. Like how many iterations of equations are needed to be done to solve that one equation. How many,
True,
like
true,
he
but that was
made a
not,
math equation to, like he supposedly like made this math formula to come up with that. And like it showed this weird phenomenon where it showed a different thing he discovered. So that's what I mean by I was
because the
talking
scale
about.
changes, the scale changes. It would only
Yeah,
be
yeah, but
accurate
it's
if you
changing,
measured it from the
like it's
time that he
showing
set that
something
rule.
on its own though. Like he discovered something that was immaterial and he didn't even invent that second part that he found out. So that's what I'm saying. Is it possible to discover stuff that's, not non-material based, like this, you can discover abstract discoveries,
Could
now
you,
that's
are you saying,
Guys,
could you
guys,
just,
we're I'm about to run another take at that experiment.
okay. We'll go ahead and
This time I have a grounding source, which would be the little milli saucer thing that I just hung up there. You can see it next to me in the picture.
oh cool.
So first, let's start with just the high voltage and see if we can get a nice line flow.
I have a question about that saucer later. I'll ask, but not yet, not now.
look around, see if your visible universe changes?
Actually, I'll tell you in a second. Mark is doing this project, but
Oh, here goes, my speaker went off on its own. All right.
Oops. Camera shut off.
oh yeah,
Ah. You guys see anything now, or did we lose the camera?
I see like the two platings on the left and right side, and I see the thing that's going downward from the top, and I see.
Camera. It looks like one of the cameras shut off. Let me see if I can restart this program.
I see. Okay, I mean, I saw the.
I'm going to try restarting the OBS program so I can get both cameras on.
Okay.
Nope, the second camera did not turn on that time. Let's try that again.
Somebody from with a Gmail exotic propulsion wanted me to email them, but I'll have to do it later, not right now, I think. Yeah, I'm not doing anything right now.
What did he want?
Oh, he wants he I don't think it's now, but he's saying we have to talk about the ESP experiment, projects that I've been working on. So, he said he's working on similar projects. But I was gonna later.
Isn't that like psychic stuff?
Yeah, it's like that one guy during the previous experiment or the previous conversations. Remember John was talking to that one other guy that about the ESP stuff. He said that he had that one program that you can affect images on the screen with your mind. I got one program that from that guy. He said he was giving it out. It was called Mind Song or something like that, or Mind Shaper or something like that. It was like two different programs, but I got one for him called Celeron. So that allows you to use your mind to interface with, you know, the thing, the image on the screen, and you can manipulate it with just thought. So I was trying to figure out the frequency coupling with that, you know, the amplitude waves. So
You know what helps also in ESP? If you listen to music that has been translated to your like you can audio hear it, but it's space, solar winds. That gives you also like you're basically your brain is analyzing those frequencies, but yet it hasn't, like, people don't understand, so you get this ESP kind of feeling. And techno music, you know, with like would does help, you know, with that.
techno
Like listen,
music's
I
been a
have,
weird subject for me. So yeah, it's like I
but
know
the
what you're talking
recent
about.
ones, not old, not old ones,
Yeah.
like the ones that, like, you know, the release date is like hours, then you know you will feel the effect of that music throughout your day. You're on that higher energy state, so you're like you're
Yeah.
all of
It's
you vibrating
basic.
your,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
It's creating binaural waves or binaural beats basically, or something like that. You know, the audio's getting in
Yeah,
brain
but this is
brainwave
not like
instrument.
computer generated. This is real sounds in the universe. You know, like the computer generated ones, like just give you a headache. You could tell the difference between the ones that are like really like go into a compiler, or you know, and then produce
Oh, yeah.
a good, like, you know, sound wave where which is like resonates harmonically with your DNA, and you know, raises that vibration. So you know of events, or you feel of events that are going to happen before they happen, or
Yeah,
you know,
no,
like,
that makes sense. Like the guy Void Yin Yang, he talks about hearing the time inverse time frequency, that where the time frequency is coming from the future to the past. Like in, you know, instead of like us going, you know, how we perceive time going, you know, forward, he's talking about it's going backwards from the future to you. So like, you know, you would have
yes, yes,
images.
yeah,
Yeah, he
yes.
was but he was finding a math measurement for that, how that works. And he said that involved a virtual photon.
I mean,
Basically.
it's down to the thought. If I think of something, it like happens. Like, how does
Well,
that
there's
happen?
a guy, that's a good question. There's a guy who in the pair research, I think you heard of the pair PEAR Institute, that they, you know, they with Hal Puthoff, they did the you know, intention observer effect projects, you know, measurements with the observer effect, you know, with the double slit and all that, and they
Like,
created the
for
mind.
example, whatever is relative to me, like in my observable universe, is always faster in time. Even when I, you know, date, like, like even dates like autocorrect themselves. Like, you know, I catch small glimpses, like, you know, whatever today's date, but somebody else might be on a date that is, you know, like a day too late. And so even systems, even computers, even, you know, like every time I have an interaction with any other system, like I do a purchase or a camera catches, or so it, like whoever is fastest in time, all other systems regulate to that. Because, you know, the whole idea is we're starting.
You're talking about higher harmonic ordering. So
I
basically,
don't know the scientific words. It's just I'm seeing the
yeah,
anomalies,
but
like,
I get what you're talking about, synchronicities in time that are merely played off as coincidences, but are not really
no, they're not. They're
coincidences.
not. Like, they really are not. Like, it cannot possibly be, you know, that we live in this age of communication, that these systems are not integrated together, and that there's such
They're
a huge
disordered.
time gap in
Yeah.
between them, and days in transmission, like days sometimes.
Well,
You know, like,
I can prove that theory true. I know it's real, actually. I believe it, but I know how to prove that scientifically. Uh, you know, information computing, as far as like you have your software that's compartmentalized in a way where it's all the ones and zeros are just scattered. Like say, picture an operating system where all the programs are just, jumbled up. So like, there's going to be a lot of data computation, in one area and different in another. So that basically causes a lot of delay time in the speed of, processing, how fast, like say,
But you know what it
megabytes.
feels like? It feels like I'm bringing the world up to date, like that, like up to
Well, I was
speed,
gonna give you I
have
was
them
gonna
catch
give
up,
you
and
well,
like, come on, world, like
I was
you're
gonna give
a
you a
few days
science.
late, like, like
Well, I was
we're in
gonna
this
give you a
time.
scientific proof of that right now about that. Because megabytes per second, they said that you can fix the order of all those ones and zeros and the computation speed by writing it or analyzing it as a frequency wave. You can
Yeah, but
correlate the data.
yeah, but I would still want to be ahead of time. Like I'm exploring the
Yeah,
world,
but this is
like, so why would I want to, like,
well, this is proving
do you understand?
yeah, but this is proving what you're talking about true. At least in this processing
For
speed we're
computers and
operating.
processors, yeah, and like,
But it's the
trying
same
to.
concept as the conscious. Like I'm about to say it, like you can correlate the data that's all compartmentalized in the ones and zeros to like a frequency based measurement scheme, and then you just recombined all those amplitudes together, and it will actually cut down the energy required within the circuit board to process that information. They just tested that.
How about
They,
this one? This one will freak you out even more.
uh,
You see the action, and then you see the sub action. Sub action is the subconscious visualization in in that body. Like it manifests itself and it happens. So sometimes, like, you're seeing double. You see, like, okay, example, like you're standing at a light and you see a car pass by, and in front of you, and it had like some weird marking, but then you see the same car 2 seconds, like a couple cars later, pass again, and with the same, like, cannot, and it's not that, like, it might have a very unique sticker, or like something unique, so you feel like, it's repeating again, and
so
whether
you're
it's,
talking about precognition in a way. That's
I don't know if
basically
I'm seeing it before it comes, and then I'm seeing
that's
subset,
basically what it sounds like. That sounds like what Void of Yin was talking about, the inverse time
Okay,
frequency.
like another time, I had somebody,
Oh,
that
true.
came
If
to
you're
help me with
thinking in
something,
if you're
and then
thinking
I
in
saw doubles of him,
superposition.
like within seconds. Like, there's no way this person passed.
Well, if
Like,
you're
okay,
thinking in
and then
if
he
you're
passed
thinking
again from the
in
same area, and it's like, what?
if you're
Like,
thinking
is there twins?
if you're thinking in terms of superposition, I guess of
I
like
don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but
reality.
the only thing that I was able to explain about it was that I'm seeing the physical action, and then the subconscious action of that person, but manifested in their body. So first time they would do something like as if they're being observed, but the second time would be as if, like, it's being played out, but I'm the only one that's observing their thing. Like, okay, so I was buying like bags of concrete, all right, like for mixing something, and I paid like for one, and that person saw me pay for one, but I think in his mind he wanted to take another one, so I saw his action taking another one. So when I collapsed that function, yeah, he had another bag, but it was his subconscious. Do you understand? So I had to go back and catch it. So it's like each person has a double, the real them and then their subconscious them, but it depends on of how high of a frequency you can see, because
Yeah,
like you can
that
see the
cuts down
subconscious manifest.
it cuts down on the energy requirement. That's the delay. That's the proof with the time cycle measurement in the computer information where it made the battery work less hard to expend energy. It's the same concept. They even tested in the brain about that, where when your brain is doing mathematical computations and you're looking at a problem, they managed to actually target certain sections in the brain that do mathematic computation, that strictly, and they managed to like somehow in the signal modulation, schemes, they managed to like find out that that the brain was able to like see math solutions before they even like before even solving the problem, like
Hey,
starting.
Jeremy,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go right now, but if you're doing a video with Jeremiah, Exotic Propulsion, hit me up at alternativepropulsion@gmail, okay?
Okay, alternative propulsion at Gmail. Okay.
It's the
So
email that you got the link to this conference from.
okay. Do I? It's like we'll just communicate and you'll set up like a link, Zoom or whatever. Okay.
Okay?
All right. So I'll go ahead and exit out then, and I'll alternativepropulsion.com Gmail. All right, got it.
Alternativepropulsion@gmail.com. It's the same email that you got the link from, okay? Bye,
All right.
Lilo.